al mio cantare, al mio cantare,
Excellent.
Yeah, it's a little difficult to sing to
I
a
know.
phone, but
And you're singing down and that's never ideal. Actually, what would really help is if you could turn off the overhead light because it's shining into and so we get a weird halo.
Spooky.
Oh yeah. No, actually the light's pretty good this way. We still getting the light on your face. When you sing next time, I'll just want you to back up a little bit and then sing out to your room and not down to the camera. And that way your neck won't be in a weird position.
Yeah, I know a little bit.
Yeah. No worries. So some good things, some really good things. This song is a rangy song. Do you know what I mean? You got to sit up here and do a lot of text up here, and then all of a sudden you're in the basement. So you're using a number of registers, and I want to say, to your credit, you're going in between those registers really well. Do you understand what I mean when I say registers?
Okay, oh yeah, good. My voice teacher, we focus a lot on that. So
well, I can tell. That's good. And how long have you been taking voice?
Just over a year. Just hardly over.
Wow, that's really good, especially for that recent of a starting to study. That's great. Good for you. Tell me what your goals are as a singer. Like, I know you're young, right? How old are you?
I'm 16.
You're 16. Okay. Awesome. That's great. Tell me what your interests are. Do you just sing for fun? Or are you interested in going and studying it, or
definitely interested in studying?
Okay. So you're looking at college programs and that sort of thing. And it's never too early. And where in the country do you live?
Louisiana.
In Louisiana. Okay, good. So there's a lot of good in-state schools for you and a lot of obviously great programs out of state. So let me just talk to you about a couple of those things, and then we're going to get to the singing. Okay. Actually, no, I'll save the college prep talk for the end. We can talk a lot about college because I'm sure you have a ton of questions about that. And I know you were busy trying to get the text. So when I was talking about finding voice teachers and such,
I mean, I heard most of it.
Okay. I know, but at 6, so I used to run the high school program at Brevard. They used to have a high school voice program that was really meant to help people who were college bound, figure out how to do those auditions and things. So this is really funny. And being in Louisiana, you're going to understand. I just noticed a mosquito flying around my room. Yep. So if I start waving like crazy, it's not you. There's a mosquito in my room. Good. So excellent work I found the Danza Danza. Now, interestingly enough, this is a newer version of Danza Danza than the old 24 Italian Songs yellow book that I grew up with. And especially going way down and singing those notes an octave down. We didn't used to do that in the old days. And they've changed some of the words. So it's some for the better and some not for the better, in my opinion. For example, let me give you one that I don't think is an improvement. It's the Swan. Were you able to sing Swan for a long time? Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, che parla in core con languido son. There's one where you can put a swan. I can't find it now because I wasn't looking at this when you did it, so I didn't mark it. Not a problem. Overall, it's a good piece for you, and I think what you really want to do with this piece now is the next step for it. Because I believe in building pieces in by steps. You've got the registration worked out. Sometimes, and this could be because you're working with a canned piano accompaniment, got a little behind, and then you have to speed up.
Yep.
So when you're with an actual person, and I think by the time you're auditioning for colleges, pretty much everyone will be back to in-person auditions. Most people are now, but not everybody. Hopefully you will just be able to go in person and meet an actual pianist and breathe with them and have them breathe with you. And it makes a whole lot of difference. So that's one of those things that young singers need more experience with. And the last year and a half has not been helpful, is learning how to work with a collaborative pianist. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is some Italian things. And now that I'm looking at this, I can better address that. There's a few things that an S at the beginning of a word, like sentil vago rumore. I heard a Z sound. I heard zentil, and it's not a Z sound. It's an S sound. So make sure
like sometimes
that. Yeah, it's kind of a thing you would do in German for sure.
Yeah.
So if you've done a lot of German diction songs in German, that's a rule for German, but not for Italian. So you want to make sure it's sentil vago rumore. Okay. That's just a little thing. You actually treated most of the S's and Z's well. Con languido suon. You gave me a little shadow vowel after that N. So I heard con languido. I don't know if you hear the difference. So I want you to do con languido, con languido. So the N, the tongue comes up for the N, and then you continue into the L. And you're giving me good diction and going con lang, and I'm getting a N in the middle. And then the only,
I never thought of it that way.
yeah. So N's are a weird thing in Italian. Actually, in most languages, N's are a weird thing. The problem with N's is they shut your pharyngeal space down, because your soft palate has to fall to make the N happen. And then, it pops right back into place. You don't have a problem with nasality or anything like that. So don't worry about that. But it can often interrupt the flow of things. So you have to kind of like learn to hum through them. But there's a thing called in Italian diction called N transference. And so what N transference is, the N behaves differently depending on what's following it. So senti, it's easy. It's a normal N. But if that N comes up in front of a B or a P, it actually, and you have anything that makes you close your lips, that N is going to naturally turn into an N. So if it was...
Oh, that makes sense. I never knew that.
Yeah. So in fact, and it's usually between two words, because if it were in a word, it would actually just be an M in the word. But I always like to use the example of the very long ago Pope John Paul, we called him. In Italian is Giampaolo with an M, Giampaolo, not John Paolo, but Giampaolo, because that's a natural thing for the M to happen. Even when it's not written that way, that's what we do with behavior. And then the weird one is an N followed by a K or a hard G, G or K. It's going to turn into an NG. So if it was swan followed by cantar, right? It would be swung cantar. So you wouldn't have to do an N with the front of your tongue and then switch to the K with the back of your tongue. You just move the N back there and turn it into an NG. It's a weird thing that happens. That's just, I digressed a little bit, but it's a nice little lesson for your as you develop in Italian work, which you're going to be doing a lot of, I'm sure, in your study.